Hey.
I'm still listening to the tune.
I know it's really difficult not to zone out and sort of get really into the music.
I know, and then I'm like, oh no, it's finished.
And I was there kind of cleaning my glasses whilst the camera is off. Like, I really hope I can get these clean before the camera comes back on.
Before it comes back on. Hello, people. This is a very waffly, rambly. There's no session determined for today.
Yeah, I actually only found out I was doing a live about 3 hours ago.
So hello, welcome to Aucademy. I am Dr. Chloe Farahart. I am a white person with a shaved head, giant glasses, and I'm wearing an Aucademy merch, navy blue sweatshirt with gold Aucademy and infinity symbol, and my little badge that's a present from Sai. Actually, it's a little TARDIS that says "Trust me, I'm the doctor." That makes me very happy. And I'm joined by my fellow co-host, David Gray Hammond.
Hello. I am David. I am a white male in his 30s with a shaved head, becoming increasingly beardy, with a pair of glasses and a blue t-shirt and a lip piercing.
Nice. And yeah, there's no topic, so it's just a catch up and some waffling. I might change the title and the description later once we've actually done this session and we've covered some things, so that at least we can come back to it and remember, oh yeah, that's what we covered in that session, if people are trying to find it for any particular reason. I'm actually going to think of it as a catch up with David, because David, we've been busy. And I haven't seen you for a while. So I made some really quick notes as the intro was like jingling away about what have we been doing lately, because yeah, we haven't seen each other for a little while.
No, it's been a while. Although I'm hoping I'll be back on the live streams a bit more regularly soon.
Yeah, I mean, we've got hopefully things coming up, and we've got you in
next weekend.
February?
I think it's next weekend, isn't it?
The 5th of the 2nd. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So
what have you been up to? So obviously, you've been doing some bits with the NHS, which I think is quite exciting and interesting to talk about.
Yeah. So myself and Sai and you know, some of the other people from Aucademy have been we've been helping the NHS rewrite some material on reasonable adjustments for autistic and learning disabled people, which has been quite good to do, actually. You know, it was nice to sort of be given free rein to sort of do what we felt was necessary with the material, which I think a lot of us don't often get given that free rein when it comes to autistic experience. It's very much, this is what we need, this is the narrative we're pushing, and here's what you're going to say. But it wasn't like that, and I enjoyed that. So,
and it seems to have been a nice team effort as well. So it was, I think, you and Sai, so Northern Naughty, for people who's used to seeing Northern Naughty's Facebook profile in the comment section. Libby, I think, has been helping with the like Canva, so actually making the design of the poster. Is that right? And the leaflet?
Yes.
Libby, yeah. And what is it they wanted? So the NHS the NHS initially got in touch with me, and I do not have the capacity to take on any more work. So I was like, okay, well, I know some great people who could do this, and it's paid work, which is great for some of them. And so, yeah, what was it that they wanted?
They wanted. It's going to sound like an awful lot, but basically all of their material on reasonable adjustments, you know, so the law, what reasonable adjustments can be expected, you know, ways to interact with autistic and learning disabled patients. They wanted that compressed into a pamphlet, and I believe it was also a wallpaper, like a computer wallpaper or screensaver, and a poster, I think it was. We're testing my memory now, which I'm recently learning is not as good as I thought it was.
And where is this for? Is it for a particular district?
Yes, it's I think it's Kenton Medway, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, I believe it's Kent and Medway. I would have to go back and check my emails to be sure, but yeah, I believe it's Kent and Medway Trust of the NHS that wanted this material.
And actually, I think one little theme of our waffly catch up might be sort of the hope for, so I've got a note here about hope for the next generation, but some of the hope and the positive that we might be seeing now. There's a lot of struggle still. And when we had Nick on last, we liked the discussion around there's chaos. There has been chaos for the last few years, as we are all aware. But out of chaos comes change. And so I'm quite interested in seeing that actually some of this change is happening. So particularly in Kent and Medway. So I'm actually on the KMPT, so the Kent and Medway Partnership Trust board to make change in this area, which is quite a big area. And they want, it's all autistic people. So they want to hear from autistic people. And so it's really nice that although not everywhere, that we're starting to see an increase in people like the NHS, or at least areas within the NHS, actively looking for autistic people to support anything that they do.
Yeah.
Or change anything they're doing. And we've got some Aucademy links in there, right?
Yes. Yeah, we got some Aucademy links in there. It's I know it really has filled me with a lot of hope, though. Like you say, and I liked what you said about, you know, from the chaos comes some hope of change, because I think anyone who's from what I gather anyway, anyone who's ever given birth to a child will tell you that nothing beautiful comes without a bit of discomfort. So you know, yeah, it's been really good working with NHS Kent and Medway, and I hope we can work perhaps with more NHS trusts to do similar work, you know, moving forward. And yeah, it was really validating being given the opportunity to actually tell the truth. You know, rather than have someone else tell our story for us, say, well, no, actually, this is how we as autistic people would like to be treated as patients in your service. And that was a really fantastic thing to be a part of.
And can we talk about Gecko?
Yeah, so I started working for Gecko Community. That has been really good. They support neurodivergent young people aged 5 to 25 who are struggling with mainstream education due to burnout, trauma, mental health concerns. And I'm really, yeah, it's been a really good experience working for yet another organization that is not only neurodivergent friendly but neurodivergent led. Yeah, I think there's some exciting stuff on the horizon with Gecko, but I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about at this stage. So
we'll get them back on at some point, maybe, if they want to cover any of the things.
Absolutely.
David, can I ask you just to check your echo on your microphone is all the way down?
Yes.
The button's also on the microphone itself.
I've got echo cancellation on.
Yeah, and then the microphone that you're using, is it the one in front of you? The
Yes.
big one. Just check the echo do you know what I mean? Is it right down?
Someone had fiddled with my settings.
There we go. It was only slight. It was really slight, but I could tell. And I was thinking, I can't control that this end. So maybe it's on the microphone, because I had that microphone for a while, didn't I, before I moved over to the lapel one. Samara said they didn't hear the echo anyway, so if that helped.
There is other stuff that... Yeah, sorry, what were you going to say? You go first.
No, because I've just got a list of things that we could potentially talk about.
I was going to say the other big thing that I've been doing, which is probably a big part of the reason why I've not done so many live streams, obviously, is we've just closed out season 1 of the Aucademy podcast. Nice. Especially interesting, which I'm really enjoying. It is so much fun. We're literally, for anyone who's not seen the Especially Interesting podcast yet or listened to it, you can find it on Spotify. We host it through Anchor, and it's just about autistic people and their dedicated interests, and they tend to be less autism related topics, less related to autistic experience, although in a sense it's entirely about autistic experience. But we had one of my favorite ones was we had someone on who did like a forensic psychological analysis of the Resident Evil series, which is one of my favorite video game franchises. And
that was good.
yeah, that was a fantastic episode, and I think we're doing a part 2 to that one as well.
I think the only one that I haven't listened to was the one on tarantulas, because I don't know if I could listen to one about tarantulas.
You know what? I mean,
my mind is too vivid in terms of mental imagery.
I'm the same, and I certainly didn't really look up too many of the things on the internet. Because I know when we're doing it, Tigger is there just looking things up on the internet, like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, the tarantula one was really interesting, really, really interesting. And I mean, some of the facts I learned were like fascinating but horrifying, like the number of babies they have, which I'm not going to say right now for anyone who might be arachnophobic, but it was a really fascinating. This is what I love about the podcast, though, is that it really goes to show that it's not just like an autistic obsession, like people have always called it. It's real expertise that we have in our dedicated interests, and it doesn't matter whether it's a dedicated interest in something directly related to the autistic experience, or whether it's, I don't know, about Pokemon. When we decide we love something. Sorry?
Giant African land snails?
Oh, giant! We've got to have you on to do an episode about giant African land snails.
I know, I have not been invited. I should just invite myself, should I?
I'll tell you why you've not been invited. It's because we've been working through all the people who've been contacting us through the contact page.
No, that's fair. I don't want to take one of our fantastic educator learners' spaces.
But we will definitely do an episode on giant African land snails with you, because as you may or may not know, I have a bit of a thing for giant African land snails myself. I don't think I have anywhere near the knowledge you've got yet, but I'm learning, and it's great fun learning about giant African land snails, because they're just so chill.
They're very calming to watch. I do like once I've cleaned them out and things like that, and it's all nice in there, and just watching them nom away and things like that. Yeah,
but no, Tigger and I absolutely love doing the Especially Interesting podcast. It's probably one of the most fun things I do with my week is when I'm recording episodes for that. We just recorded an episode on 80s fashion and music, which I thought would be outside of my wheelhouse as a child of the 90s. But actually it was really interesting. It was really interesting to sort of think about how the stuff from the 80s had influenced the stuff that I had when I was sort of a teenager and stuff like that, and seeing the parallels and the influences, and it's really fun. I'm learning a lot about so many different subjects, and there's a real danger that I'm going to be going down so many rabbit holes with special interests after
all
doing
the amazing things that you learn.
But for anyone who wants to check out the Especially Interesting podcast, like I said, it's on Spotify. We have just started recording season 2, so the episodes will start dropping really soon.
Fantastic. Actually, like I say, because I have no plans for this session, but that makes me think about, do all our Aucademy educator learners, so if you're new to Aucademy, all of us on the screen here with you, and you folks in the comment section, you folks who watch and don't comment and things like that, we are all educator learners, okay? Because we learn from things that people say in the comment section, That usually means that if I find, somebody tells me something I didn't know, or I don't know enough about, we will then either invite that person on, or we will go and find somebody who is knowledgeable on that topic. So we are all educator learners here. And so I don't know if you're new, for instance, to Aucademy, or maybe you're not that new. Do you know all the things that we do? Because we do so many things when you actually look at it and list it. So I'm going to very, very quickly stream. I'm just going to take that comment off. So, and that banner. So this is actually our Aucademy website. I'm going to get rid of my, nobody look at my really messy bookmarks bar. Let's get rid of the bookmarks bar. It's got so many bookmarks. So we actually do have a website, for instance. So we're not just on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, although Instagram, I'm a little bit slow when it comes to uploading anything on Instagram.
I have not worked out Instagram yet. I've been on there for like 3 years.
Yeah, but we've been doing things. So, we've had Katie Monday has been doing book reviews for us, for instance. So on here, if we scroll down, so that's our homepage. There's us. So, for instance, Katie today, which I'd like Katie is going to come on and do a session at some point. Hopefully we can invite on, and if they're free, get Kieran Rose on to have a discussion around this idea of shielding. So Katie uses and prefers to talk about shielding their autistic experience as opposed to masking or camouflaging, for instance. So they did a blog today. If you're interested, want to know why Katie prefers the phrase shielding to masking, then you can go and find out on the blog here. If you haven't used the website before, I did actually update it so that we've got an accessible website. So we have an accessibility statement right at the top. But if you go on here and you've got this little white person in a blue circle, and click that, I've actually currently got it on dyslexia friendly font. And you can do things like you can change the contrast, you can change the cursor, so you can do all sorts of stuff. So that, this doesn't really work for my eyes, but it might work for other people's. But yeah, just so if you didn't know, we've got that accessibility there. So yeah, we've got a new blog from Katie. Katie's been doing a number of book reviews. So did you want to know, is the book, for a book for young people to explain autistic experience, does a good one exist? Well, find out. Katie's been reviewing books. So this one by Melanie Hayworth, who we've actually had on before. So Melanie Hayworth is in Australia, and they've covered how to explain autistic experience to young people in an episode or a session for us on Aucademy. So you can go and find that on YouTube or on Facebook videos. But they've also got a book about explaining, or a story about autism for young people, for instance. I blogged about the 6 stages of autistic discovery. If anyone's read that, where do you feel you are in your discovery journey? But I will be hopefully covering that as a session with Annette in February. So yeah, there's lots of stuff. So we've got book reviews and blogs. What else have we got on here that might be useful for people to know? So you can link directly to the Especially Interesting podcast this way as well. Or if you want to be a guest and be interviewed and have a discussion with David and Tigger, which I very much encourage, then you can find out and contact them via Especially Interest podcast on here. I think that's it in terms of maybe the interesting things to look on our website. Go and have a look and browse through. This needs tidying, but we do have a resource page, and there's so many different things on here. So, if you want a PDF to take to a therapist and you're autistic, what kinds of questions you might need to ask a therapist, there's a PDF on that we put together. Checklist for alexithymia. Want to work out if you do or do not connect or understand your emotions and know how to articulate them, and so on. So we've got lots of resources that they do need tidying, though.
And I do recommend the checklists for people who are sort of on their discovery journey, and they've even been useful to me lately. So
yes, so under that books, article and resources list, there is probably right now the bottom now, but I do need to tidy that and actually make it a bit more streamlined, so people actually, like, one section is actually books, one section is articles, and so on. At the moment, it's literally just a hodgepodge of, oh, I found something, put it on there. But under that books and resources, as David just mentioned, sorry if that's blurry for people's eyes, so give me a second to get to the bottom. You can download Kieran Rose's masking indicators checklist, which is very useful. I've got a where to go for all things autistic, a brief starting guide, lists about books that are good, official checklists, but also the unofficial checklist, which David is mentioning, which is very useful for autistic people, particularly if you were later discovered, i.e. you didn't discover you're autistic as a child. That checklist seems to be quite good for people who maybe were missed when they were younger. But yeah, lots and lots of things. The law and disabled students in higher education. There's all sorts of things under that resources list. I'm very excited today. I don't know why I haven't seen you for ages as well, David.
Here's a life hack for anyone who is doing those checklists. Click on the World Health Organization ADHD self-report thing as well, and do that one as well, because I only just did it recently after several years of people going, "Are you sure you're not ADHD, David?" And me going, "No." And I did the thing, and I basically ticked every single box. And I was like, "Oh," and then walked into a psychiatrist's office and didn't even bring it up. And the psychiatrist went, "I'm screening you for ADHD."
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we've discussed it a little bit in other sessions on ADHD or attention differences. So if anyone wants to go back and watch those videos, feel free, again, on YouTube or on our Facebook under the videos link or tab. But importantly, Nikki Duncan explains, and Tanya's explained, you know, again, we kind of have an idea of what this thing called ADHD is based on being outsiders observing people with attention differences. And so this idea of being ADHD in the sense of, obviously we don't like this terminology, but attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in quotation marks, being different to attention deficit. And all that means is that you're just not observably hyperactive, right? Your brain might likely be hyperactive, which is what Tanya describes. So Tanya Adkins talks about.
And that's very much my experience as well. It's realizing just how much of my brain is like, we're gonna go, we're gonna be doing stuff, do stuff. What can we do next? And you know, that's very much how my brain seems to be working, and I've only just started to have an awareness of it. So seriously, just
have a look.
keep it in mind if you're exploring your neurodivergence. Keep it in mind. Because I think I wish I could have come to this conclusion much earlier on in life.
Well, when I deliver non-therapeutic consultations, people are welcome. They don't have to. It's not a requirement. But I suggest that if people, even if they have a diagnosis, do the unofficial checklist and also the ADHD checklists. Some of that I just say that in case they can't think what they would like to talk about, and sometimes those checklists actually bring up, oh yeah, I do that thing, can I talk about that, for instance? But also, yeah, getting those autistic people to also look at potentially experiencing attention differences as well, because that will just add to your knowledge about your neurodivergent profile. And so I've been describing quite a lot recently about what kind of pastry are you, right? So what makes you you? What ingredients makes you you? And so David, you're autistic, likely with attention differences. So are you, you know, a particular donut with sprinkles? If I'm ready salted autistic, I'm like just a salted pretzel or something, right? So just working out the ingredients that makes you you helps you work out who are you as in terms of your own neurodivergent
Tanya Adkin once told me that I am the pickled onion monster munch of neurodivergency.
That's amazing.
I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I'm sure we will have extensive conversations about it at some point.
Yep. And we've just had as well, so Katie Monday's here with us, so one of our regular educator learner hosts, and they're saying could be interesting to write a piece about ADHD, impulsivity and substance use.
Yes, I would definitely be up for that, Katie. And for anyone who doesn't know, I have just recently co-authored a blog post with Katie about exploitation and county lines, and it was I was really quite proud of that piece, and it couldn't have been done as well as it was without Katie's input. So yeah,
Fantastic.
that
And
was
then my
that was great.
discussion, just my description of, well, yeah, you've been writing, we come back to that, you've been writing lots of blogs recently, you've done so many articles.
Yeah.
So most of your articles are on emergent divergent?
Almost entirely, except there's a couple on neuroclastic, one which most notably is my interview with Nick Walker about her book, Neuroqueer Heresies, which I really enjoyed that interview. So yeah, that was a really good one.
And I was just flagging Amy's comment, which is, so my description about how working out the ingredients, what kind of pastry are you? What kind of neurodivergent pastry are you? Or neurodivergent baked goods, or whatever it might be. And Amy's put here, they put all the ingredients in my cake. God was like, give me one with everything. And that's how we might describe a net. So a net, when they describe themselves, they're autistic, dyslexic, dyspraxic, with attention differences, and so they're like all the things. Yeah. Oh, Katie's a Swiss roll. Yeah, what kind of pastry are you? What kind of baked good? I said this was going to be a really random session. It is a really random. What kind of baked good are you as a neurodivergent person? I've just got on the screen just to explain what this one was. So this is just a list of the educators and collaborators that we've had on. So this is just who of us are the permanent sort of guests or hosts, sorry, that you will see. But we also have a pinned blog that Aucademy educator learner Libby has been updating as we go along. So you can also go here and find out all of the autistic people that we've had on, remembering we only have autistic people on, and you can see what topics they've covered with links to their particular videos. You won't see the key educator learners like myself and David so much. I don't think we're listed on here because we're on so often. It would just be a nightmare to keep updating. But so these are all our wonderful guests that we've had on before necessarily that they may become one of our more permanent educator learners. I think that's it for what exciting things are going on here. I'm trying to think what else we've done. Been doing lots of things recently. Let's take that off. Let's pop us back up.
I think there certainly is a bright future for Aucademy. It's constantly growing and developing, and I really look forward to seeing what the next year, 2 years, 5 years, who knows, 10 years has on offer. And I certainly intend to be around for as much of it as I can be.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's just always so many things that we could and will be doing. So at the moment, I'm very conscious, and I was saying this to David before we popped on, I'm conscious that I've been quite selfish in all the lovely guests that we have on, in that they are topics that I didn't know enough about, so I wanted to hear more about them. But I'm also conscious that if you're new to understanding that you're autistic, or new to the community, or you're trying to understand autistic people in your life and you don't necessarily consider yourself autistic or aren't neurodivergent in some capacity yourself, then some of the topics that we cover may be a little bit more advanced in the sense of they aren't covering the basics of what it means to be autistic and be part of the community. So I'm going to, or am in the process of putting together bite size. I'm trying to be bite size. I'm very conscious that we always go on for like an hour, 2 hours on Aucademy. So I'm trying to make lots of little bite size. So no more than 20 minutes, hopefully mostly like 10 minutes on all the key things that somebody might want to know before they come and watch some of the other advanced topics that we cover on Aucademy. So when I say advanced, I don't mean in the sense that people wouldn't understand what's going on, but we, I think, largely sort of talk and communicate on Aucademy as if everybody is coming from the same standpoint, like the same position. Does that make sense? So that maybe everyone's already understanding the difference between this abstract thing called autism, which doesn't exist, versus what we discuss, which is autistic experience. And if you're new to understanding these things, that might be completely new information. And so I'm doing lots of little bite size that people can find and get through before they want to maybe cover some of the more meaty topics that we cover on Aucademy. And part of that as well, so I'm putting all these bite size together, and I'm going to try and release them maybe like one a week or something like that as well, maybe like midweek or something. But part of making those is we've also started a Patreon. I think that's how you pronounce it. So fantastic Aucademy educator learners in the comment section who have been in the position to be able to donate a little bit of money to us so that we can pay our guests. So to be clear, us sort of established, if you like, or regular Aucademy hosts that you see time and time again, we don't get paid. We don't pay ourselves out of the donations. We only pay our guests because we obviously don't have lots and lots of money. If I win the lottery or we become a charity and get, lottery funding, that will definitely change because everyone deserves to get paid. We've gone off on a tangent, Chloe. Come back. What was my tangent? Thank you, everyone. Since we've started Aucademy in 2020, for your donations, that's meant that we have been able to pay all of our autistic guests because there is a precedent that happens far too often that autistic people and their knowledge and their labour is not paid for. And we, even if it's only a small donation, wanted to make sure that they were paid and respected for the knowledge that they were bringing to Aucademy and bringing to you folks here. And I just thought, well, if we put it on Patreon, then I can put extra things. We as Aucademy can give extra things as well to those lovely people. So if you at the moment donate via PayPal, can you please consider, which you don't have to, but consider instead doing it via Patreon, because that way all Patreon members of ours get access to training that I usually get paid for to deliver to like organizations or schools or universities or whatever it might be, but you will get that free extra. And that's my Autistic Wellbeing What Works. And that one I feel is important because it helps you understand why doesn't therapy necessarily work for autistic people, what might work, how do you learn your profile and things like that. So you just get extra, right? I want to give as much back to everybody as possible. So do think about coming over to Patreon instead. But there was a point to that ramble. Where I'm making all these bite size, what I'll probably do is I'll put them all on Patreon much more quickly. So I'm going to release them individually, I think, once a week. But if you're a Patreon member, doesn't matter what tier of Patreon you are, I will, once they're all recorded and edited, I will put the whole lot up on Patreon for people as well, to give as much back as possible.
Yeah, and I think I might actually be making some bite-sized videos as well.
Lovely.
I don't really know entirely what about yet, but it has been mentioned to me, and I was interested in doing that. So I think I will dip my toes.
Fantastic. Yeah, and then we can just add as many things as we can to the Patreon as well. So it's been really great, but I always feel like, but I want to give even more. Everyone deserves so much that we put together and help people understand their autistic selves and the people around them. I think Amy at some point said, can I ask a question? I don't know if did I find it? Let's have a look. Can I ask a question? Yes, you can. Now I need to find it. Oh, is Amy, can I just double check? Let me know. Is this the question? Let's have a bit. Look. Please explain to me why the Baron is wrong. Okay, I think that's the one. that Amy wanted to ask. So Amy wanted to ask, please explain to me why the Baron is wrong with his theory of mind theory. I need to put a trainer on the right track. I'm not going to go into lots of detail, Amy, but you are more than welcome. Let me find the right link. And you'll have to find the right section. I'm pretty sure Tanya Adkins and myself, we covered the theories of autism versus the autistic-led theories. And I think we did criticise with links potentially to resources that theory of mind nonsense. So let me find, hold on.
Tanya and I will
while I'm
also
having a
soon
look.
be publishing a blog post in our article series about autistic theory, autism theory versus autistic-led theory, which might have some stuff in it that could be useful for this question. Unfortunately, it's not published yet. It's still in draft. So
fantastic. So let me just find, I'm sure, because I know we covered basically theories in general. Here we go. What is autism? Autism versus autistic theories. Pretty sure it's this one. So yes, we did talk about it, and I gave links in that, Amy, so that should help. Here we go. Anybody else here who is interested? It is quite a long video. It is one of our 2 hours and 45 minutes because there was a lot to cover when it comes to the theories. So the YouTube video is What is Autism? Autism versus Autistic Theories, Tanya Adkin and Aucademy's Chloe. And that was the 7th of the 8th, 2021.
I mean, at this point, can we really say 2 hours and 45 minutes is one of our long videos? Because I'm pretty sure they all tend to run about that time now.
No, I try really hard, but it's so hard. There's too many interesting topics, and everyone's so interesting when they come on Aucademy, and I'm just like, oh, I need to absorb everything that you have to say.
I still remember it was a few months ago. I said to my family, I was like, I'm just going to do a live stream. I'll be like an hour and a half tops. And like 3 hours later, I was still sat here like I've needed the toilet for like the last hour and a half.
Autistic inertia, so that difficulty to stop or switch tasks is real. And particularly when you're enjoying yourself or just really absorbed in the topic and so on. So that's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about that I just briefly before David and I came on, we had a quick chat and I was like, oh no, these are the things that we should just chat about while we're on.
We do this live. Every time though, don't we? Every time we have a discussion about what can we talk about, it turns into us doing the live but not recording it and then having to go back and repeat it all over again.
So, well, I just made a couple of notes based on what we talked about. We talked a little bit about our hope for the next generation. And so we've kind of briefly mentioned that in the sense of we're seeing a slight shift, not everywhere, but this shift in actually having autistic people lead, for instance, in creating resources so that they're actually getting more accurate or at least more humanizing understanding of autistic people within the NHS, for instance, or yours was with the Kent and Medway Partnership Trust. But I have some hope because yesterday, Annette and I got on a train yesterday. So for people who aren't necessarily don't know what I'm like off screen, I don't leave my house. So I don't leave my house from week to week, most weeks. And certainly not to travel very great distances anymore. I used to. But I went on a train yesterday. That was eventful in itself. I forgot my purse. My purse was in my car, which is not like me, but I'm very poor with time. So I was rushing and I rushed on to the train. I just made it. And although I'd pre-booked my tickets, I had to get the conductor to print the ticket with my receipt on my phone while I was on there. That's how bad I am with time. I was literally running with a suitcase full of stim tools because Annette and I went to and we delivered neurodiversity training for 2 hours as like an assembly for a school in London. And it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So this particular school, what they did was they had representatives from each year. So it was a secondary school. So you had representatives from age 11 up to age 16, I think. From each year, you had about 4. So you had like 4 pupils who were like 11 or 12, 4 pupils. And so there was 24 pupils. And the idea is they're going to take back some of the things that me and Annette taught them and activities we did with them and take them back and do their own assemblies with the rest of their peers. Right. This is why I'm quite buoyed today, like excited and things, because it was just a really great day. It was exhausting because it took out the whole day. It was only there for 2 hours, but the traveling and getting up there and prep and all that kind of thing took the whole day. But it was very exciting. I'm going to quickly explain the train journey, David. So like any empathy, you might feel some empathy. So like I say, I rushed on to the train because I'm really bad with time. I literally live like 3-4 minutes away from the train station. I can see it down the road from me. And I left my purse behind, and then I was panicking when I was on the train because the conductor came up. I didn't know what they were going to need because I haven't been on a train for such a long time, but he just needed my email receipt to like print the tickets off. But while he was doing that, I was looking for my purse because I was thinking, well, he might need my actual card that I paid with, and I couldn't find my purse. So then I'm like already overwhelmed because I'm not used to being on a train with people, and I had my noise cancelling. Actually, I had an earbud in, and I a noise cancelling earbud like this one, and I had a loop in the other one, and I was just really overwhelmed, and I didn't feel like I could talk to him because I was just trying to just manage. Does that make sense? So when I typed on my phone, I can't find my purse, and he was like, "It's fine. Here's your tickets," kind of thing. Missing the point, which was I can't find my purse, which is a big deal. So he sort of disappeared, and I'm sitting there going, I can't talk right now. And I was getting stressed, and Annette wasn't on the train yet because she meets me at a different station. And so I'm typing on my phone to go after him and say, no, can you please actually ring the station I came from and ask them to check if they can see my purse in the car park or if they can see it in my car, right? And that meant that I hadn't paid to park either. So I've now got like a parking ticket, even though I paid like another point. My thoughts are all over the place, as everyone can see today. Anyway, so I'm typing this to this guy. But when I initially spoke to him, if everyone saw my post, so my lanyard that I had, I showed him that, and I explained that, by showing him this, that I wasn't talking, but I could understand him. And then I chased after him and just showed him my phone and said, on the phone, on the text, can you actually ask the station if they can find my purse and things like that. So it was a very stressful start. And I was dragging massive suitcase that's full of STEM toys because we take a load of STEM toys for the neurodiversity event anyway. But that was just want to explain my event for trying to get up there on the train, which was awful. But the day itself, so like I say, 2 hours with these inner London pupils. And I didn't know it was an all boys school either. So there's us, female presenting as well, and just like, are they going to identify with what we're talking about and our experiences and things? And largely they weren't, as the majority of them, from what we understood, were neurotypical. And it was amazing. You've got 11-year-olds and up to like 16-year-olds, so very, diverse age range, and some staff as well up the back. And what we were talking about how difficult it can be, or how people will describe how difficult it is to change their language. Do you remember, David?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah,
people find it, non-autistic people we're talking about here. Oh, Samara, yes, they did ask the station to look and they couldn't find my purse, but luckily I had just left it in my car. I found it when I got home, which was fine. So the end of that particular story. But I just wanted people to understand how stressful it was on the train, and actually how you can still communicate if you need to via like a text or app or something. Lost my train of thought. Oh no. We were covering neurodiversity with all these amazing young people. Oh, some people find it really, really difficult, or they'll tell you that they find it really difficult to change their language from person with autism. And I've been in several meetings with non-autistic people where I'm there as an autistic consultant trying to make change, for instance. And every time they refer to me or members of our community as people with autism, or me as a person with autism, it hurts. Like it cognitively and physically, you're kind of like, that's not what I am. That's not who I am. It's like calling somebody a really derogatory slur word. That's what it feels like. And when you explain to those people politely, because, you know, we're all about gentle education on Aucademy, and we politely say, can you please refer to us as autistic people? We're not people with autism. And you get that thing of, oh, sorry, yeah, it's really hard to change language, etc. And actually it's much harder to hear it. And it's actually hard to have it turned back on us, because by saying I'm sorry, you're putting it back on the autistic person to forgive you. And actually, you made the mistake. You just need to correct it and move on, and not put it back on the autistic person. We've talked about this before on here, which is about emotional and cognitive labour of people. But my point being, you hear that so many times from non-autistic people, like I say, in meetings and things, who struggle to change their language. And in this group of 24 pupils in this school yesterday, us covering our neurodiversity training with our activity book, and right at the start, we asked them to pick a neurodivergence type. It doesn't have to be autistic. It could be anything, and list things that you think are challenges and strengths for that group of people. And we do this a number of different ways throughout the session to get them to realise everybody has challenges and strengths. So giving that more balanced and humanising perspective. But right at the start, we get them to think of neurodivergences on the whole. And all of them who decided to pick autistic experience put autism, and would talk about people with autism. But they learnt so quickly that we weren't referring to ourselves or others as people with autism, that the rest of the session, all of them were saying autistic people. They were just coming up with amazing responses to things we were asking. So that task where we asked them, like, remembering some of them are 11 years old, some of them are 16, and there's a big difference in those age range or age gap. And that task where we asked them to list potential challenges or strengths for neurodivergent people or autistic people specifically. And the first table I went to, and we asked them, okay, what potential challenge did you list for autistic people? And it was the 16-year-old table, and they went, the stigma, the social stigma and the barriers that are put in place for autistic people. They didn't say they don't make eye contact, they this, they that. They talked about the environment. Even the 11-year-olds were doing that as well. And I was just, me and Annette were so amazed and hopeful, because they weren't listing challenges that you would see in a diagnostic manual or the stereotypes. They were listing environmental challenges that hurt us. And we were just so amazed by these young people. They didn't know a lot of what we were talking about, because we were teaching them. It was all new stuff, or a lot of it was new stuff to them, but they got it so quickly. And just the respect was just amazing. Like the school itself, you know, kudos to the school, because when Annette introduced themselves, Annette said, you know, I'm autistic, I'm non-binary, I'm this, I'm that. And then 2 children on different tables independently, as we were doing all these activities. Everyone's wearing masks, by the way. It was all, you know, very well looked after in terms of safeguarding, not safeguarding, social distancing and things like that. But at one point, when they're all doing activities, 2 children independently from different tables, one 11-year-old right at the start said, put their hand up, can you explain what non-binary is, please? And Annette was like, oh, how do I explain this to an 11-year-old? And Annette just went, well, I don't really feel that I'm a boy or a girl. I'm neither, or I'm like, it's like I'm both, or I'm, you know, like this kind of thing. And the child just went, okay. That was it, moved on. And then halfway, like say, through all the activities, 2 children independently, we went round, put their hands up when we were doing activities, and we went over, and one of them was like, if Annette is non-binary, what pronouns should we use? Went to another table and the different child, didn't hear the other child. Annette's non-binary. Should we be saying they, them and not she, her? And we were just like, these kids are amazing. Like, just amazing. And it just gave us I'm feeling really like excited, happy, crying almost right now, because it just gave me hope that we can really convey this stuff to those young people and they will take that forward with them. And the staff at the end as well, they were just saying, like, the kids, it was just lovely. It was so lovely. And the kids at the end were going up to Annette and me and going, are you going to come back? Are you going to come and do more stuff with us and things like this? And we're just like, oh, these kids are great. They just get it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fantastic. And I think it says a lot really about like adults are all kind of indoctrinated into this pathology paradigm medical model. A lot of them anyway, not all of them, but a lot of them are. But it gives me a lot of hope that there is this whole younger generation who, like, we can reach before that one really unpleasant part of society tries to push this whole deficit model onto them. And, you know, the fact that these kids are saying, what, you know, well, actually, the biggest issue is a stigma, the barriers that autistic people face. I'm not going like, oh, you know, they've got impaired theory of mind and they've got no empathy. Like, I think that's fantastic, you know. And I wish I could have been there, because that would have been really great to see.
On the train up, because before Annette got on the train, I was struggling. So, you know, I explained what happened with the purse and all that kind of business. And then when Annette got on, I was like, I don't know if doing this kind of training is worth it, like offline training. We're only there for 2 hours. It's taken out the whole day because of the amount of traveling that we had to do. And things like that. And I was like, oh, I don't know if we should say yes to any more of this kind of training. It's just too much. We should just do online. It's quicker. We can do more trainings throughout the day and not knock us out for you know, days on end and things like that. And then I completely changed my mind after we did the actual session, because I was like, forget what I said this morning on the train. I know it was terrible for me trying to get up there and all that kind of business, but those children were like 100% worth it. It just made the day to just have those amazing children really understand what we were conveying to them. I think what was interesting, it was kind of sad and also interesting, is that, so one of the things that we do is our mindful stimming, so that we get them to understand, because like we say, majority that we understood in that room were neurotypical children. And so we do our mindful stimming. They came, you know, got them to sanitize their hands, grab an object, and then they go in. It was in a school hall. Everyone can imagine a school hall right now, can't you? Like parquet flooring, is it what it's called? And big halls and that smell, you know, that school halls always have. And they all went and found a space, and we did the mindful stim and guided them through the stimming. And then you get half the room to get up and go and watch the other half stim. Then they have to ask them questions about their object. And then me and Annette go around and tell them all to stop what you're doing. Stop it. Stop that thing. Right. And then we have a conversation afterwards about all of that. Like, how did they feel when they first started stimming? Because the majority of things we have there are toys, like children's objects, but, well, designed for children, but obviously we use them. So everyone's lovely things in the background here. So yeah, we asked them, how did you feel at the start when you were asked to, you know, stim and play with these objects? And all of them were like, embarrassed, I haven't played with toys like this for years, awkward, all this kind of thing. And then we said, okay, how did you feel after we'd been doing it for 5 minutes? And all of them were like, I felt calm, I felt relaxed, I forgot how much I like these kinds of things. You know, they were only, the youngest were 11, but they'd lost that ability to feel comfortable and joy and calm from just being absorbed with a child's object. I don't want to call it a child's object, but they're designed for children. We call them stim tools. but you know, they can be toys still. We're allowed to enjoy them. So they felt calm and relaxed and enjoyed those things. Then we said, how did you feel when the person came over to watch you? Embarrassed, awkward, you know, interrupted, and how did you feel when they started asking you about your object? Then they enjoyed it again because they were sharing it. They were sharing what they liked about the thing, and the other person was like, oh yeah, and I can see it does this thing as well, and all this kind of thing. And then we were asking them, how did you feel when me and Annette were running around going, stop doing that thing? And they're like, some of them were like, I'm still carrying on, which I was like, great. And others were like hiding. They said, well, I carried on by hiding it behind my back and still doing it. So that's like masking, right? But still needing to do the thing. And others just felt really, you know, unhappy that they'd been stopped from doing this thing. But they all got it, right? They got why it's so important that autistic people were made to feel comfortable to be able to do that and not interrupted. But like I say, the most important thing that I took away from that was that they all were like, I haven't played with these sorts of things for years, and that they actually enjoyed it and felt calm. And it was the peer pressure and societal pressure that they shouldn't be doing that anymore that really resonated. Like, that's awful that they don't have that nice calm enjoyment from still playing.
I think Nick Walker would call it neuronormativity.
Yeah, I know. And I was, yeah, but yeah, it was a great day.
If I haven't got it across yet enough, people need to read Neuroqueer Heresies. But yeah, I mean, this is why we need autistic educators teaching about the autistic experience. And by that, it doesn't have to be the people here at Aucademy. I'm going to make a fairly sweeping statement here and say that all the autistic people watching this right now are way more qualified to teach about the autistic experience than any non-autistic professional. You know, autistic people are the experts on autistic experience, and that, I think, is the whole point of Aucademy, isn't it? You know, and
I think
why it's needed.
It knocks autistic people's confidence as well, because people like Sai and like Libby and Ben and a number of other people in the background of Aucademy who don't tend to feel comfortable necessarily on the screen. When we started doing some work with some schools across London, I feel like particularly people like Sai, so hi Sai, don't feel that they know enough, or that they don't have the right knowledge, or this kind of thing. And then when they started, I think, looking at the materials that we were being asked to review, or just asking for supervision sessions with staff and teachers and things like that, you start to realise, actually, you have it. You do have that knowledge. You do have that ability to say, no, this information here that you're trying to teach, that's not actually accurate. Here's some resources, you know, this kind of thing. The leaflet that you and Sai and Libby have put together is researched. It's got resources and links and things like that. And so I think what's really sad is that we are made to feel that we don't have that ability or that knowledge to make a difference and impact and actually impart knowledge as well. I'm waffling again.
It's great. I was just thinking, like, my brain was sort of going off on a bit of a tangent. I was thinking, you know, when Aucademy, you know, finally achieves its goal of buying out a university and turning itself into an academic institution, the number of autistic PhD candidates is going to skyrocket.
And we are starting to get more hope. Okay, more hope. Good. Because we've obviously complained. I've been on Twitter complaining that it needs to stop. We need to stop having, or neurotypical people need to stop profiting either with, you know, like monetarily, or with their careers, like profiting their careers and so on, or progressing their careers and so on, via autistic labour from us, from our experiences, by becoming, for instance, autism researchers, so non-autistic autism researchers. That needs to stop. We are starting to see an increase in autistic researchers of autistic experience. It's slow, but we're seeing it, and that's exciting. You know, seeing more of that is really exciting. So Nikki Shaughnessy, so I'm doing a postdoc among many hats. I'm doing a postdoc. It's a big project, but I'm on a really narrow part of the project, looking at basically the link between trauma responses, so mental health concerns that you would develop after experiencing trauma, and innate neurodivergence. So if you're autistic, you experience trauma, and then you experience trauma responses, anxiety, depression, psychosis, anything you can consider. So what is the link? What is the differences? We're hoping we're going to write over these 4 years papers on, you know, why the idea of what constitutes trauma is far too narrow when it comes to autistic people and things like this. So doing a bit of work on that. But Nikki, my boss, because she works so often with autistic postgrads or PhD students and things like this, she gets inundated now. It's fantastic, but she hasn't got the capacity with autistic people wanted to do PhDs. And that's really exciting.
It is.
It's really exciting. Obviously, there's work to do in university settings in terms of ableism, etc. But it's very exciting that we're seeing that change. I'm not trying to sugarcoat things. There's still a lot of problems, but I'm just feeling excited and buoyed from like the session I had yesterday with the young people and things like that. So I'm sticking with my positivity for today.
Yeah, I would love to do a PhD, but I'm not sure I have the bandwidth for it at the moment.
At some
I would have
point,
to do a
David,
master's first as well.
at some point, David, you are going to do a PhD on obviously the link and maybe more to do with the support and how to adapt support for autistic people or neurodivergent people who also experience substance use and things like that. That's going to happen, David.
It probably will, because I'm a glutton for punishment. But yeah, no, I think the main thing that does put me off actually is remembering how inaccessible university was for me at undergrad. Obviously, I was undiagnosed at the time, and they only really acknowledged the fact that I had depression and anxiety, and they gave me a bit of support around that, but it was not really much at all. It was largely like a couple of meetings with the like student disability service, and that was about all the support I got. There was no accommodation on my work or anything. You know?
Sadly, it really does depend where you go and also what degrees and things you do. Like I say, I am lucky being at the University of Kent because it was already relatively, they had some good support there, but then we've built a very autistic led like lots of services and things like that. So I do think it depends. So sadly, some universities, you don't really get any specialist support as an autistic person. It's just collapsed under that idea of mental health. Whereas, like say, for instance, at the University of Kent, there's an autism or autistic team who actually support autistic people and lots of other services that are specific for autistic people.
I feel like I should add the disclaimer, because it is quite easy to find out what university I went to, that my time at the University of Bradford was, when you ignore all the kind of crappy stuff that was going on that people would be aware of if they've read my writing, the University of Bradford was a good university, but it just wasn't accessible to me as an undiagnosed autistic person. This is obviously with another disclaimer that I started my undergrad 13 years ago. So a lot could have changed, like in the years since I graduated. I don't know. I know they now have a neurodivergent staff network. I know because I've talked to them over Twitter, and I was quite excited to find out they had a neurodivergent staff network now. So obviously there is some change, but I think it's a general problem in education, isn't it? Especially for undiagnosed autistic people, that we kind of disappear between the cracks and we're left to kind of climb our way back up as best we can. And what that looked like for me was, someone who in the first and second year, people were going, "You're on track for a first class honours," and by the time I finished the degree, it was a 2-2.
And that's the thing, that's not about your capabilities, that is about the environment. And and that environment plus autism equals the outcome. But the thing is, we end up thinking it's us, and it's not.
And that
so
was
there's a
something I
few
really had to fight with for years, was thinking that everything was me and my fault and something needed to be fixed in me, and it's I think that's why education settings need to be really mindful about how they treat students, and not just the ones that they know are neurodivergent.
And that's obviously my whole argument is, I've still got this neurodivergent friendly or neurodivergent inclusive training that I developed for my university, that is just sitting there waiting to be used by staff. Because of the lockdown, it just got sort of swept to the side for a bit, because people are too taken up with just surviving, I think, at the moment. Won't go on too much longer, because we really are just here rambling, by the way, folks.
We are rambling.
And I want to say, because I know Andrew, and Andrew is lovely and amazing. And I think, Andrew, if you feel that there's anything, a topic that you would like to talk about with us, we would love to hear it, Andrew. We respect your take on things and your participation in our socials ever so much. And I know that, so Andrew's just saying here that Andrew says, "I'm really struggling. I'm not very clever like you guys. I left school because of bullying." And I'm so sorry. And I don't want to invalidate that school was terrible for you, but we really appreciate you, Andrew. And anyone who's ever met you in social as well really appreciates you being there. So if you've got anything you'd like to cover, what are you interested in? Maybe you'd like to do a podcast with David and Tigger on your interests.
We would love to have you on, Andrew. We've all got interests and passions, and the podcast is just a space to info dump all that onto us and just show us how much you love the topic. But as for I'm not very clever like you guys, people say this to me a lot. Like, they're like, "David, you're really clever. I wish I was as clever as you." I'm like, no, I know a lot of words and I'm good at moving them around, but also, like, I can't really tie my shoes properly. And I struggle to do the daily tasks that are required to survive as a human being in the world. Like, it's that whole thing, if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking that it's stupid. And I don't believe there's such a thing as stupid. I think that's just something we've been taught because society's been built into this hierarchy, with, high IQs and billionaires at the top, and, everyone else basically fighting over what isn't used up.
And what I would say as well, Andrew, is that school failed you. Okay, you didn't fail. That school failed you. And I've said this multiple times to different people over the years, where either they or somebody around them says that they're like a bad student or whatever it is. No, bad teachers. Andrew, if you want to learn something, we will work out how you learn, right? And we will teach, and but we'll learn from each other. That's the most important thing. No bad pupils. There's only bad teachers. Because if you can find the right way to learn or to teach that person,
for what it's worth, I had to more or less drop out of school during my GCSE years, and I didn't actually get the GCSEs required to go on to A level. I had to redo a bunch of my GCSEs and barely scraped through them. And my A levels, I did a lot of A levels, and I did pretty terribly at all of them, and it was actually on my personal statement that got me into university. Because if people haven't noticed, I'm quite good at writing things. It's like the only thing I have any confidence in is my ability to write things.
It does knock your confidence though, and I understand why, Andrew, your confidence is so knocked. And I've talked about this probably earlier on in very early days of Aucademy. But similar to David, I was told not to bother with further education when I was 16, that I wasn't capable. I won't go into detail, but I'm just going to mention that I was suicidal at that age because I was really struggling for a number of reasons. And similar to you, David, I had to scrape by an A level, just one, when I was in my 20s because I was interested in a topic. It took my interest, right? That's the only way I could do it. So I scraped an A level and yeah, won over the university to let me in with just one A level and things like that. So it is that we're let down by the education system. Because Andrew, you have definitely got things that we want to learn about or hear about. I promise we do. Somebody's mentioned about, which is a lovely comment. So they've said that they've learned so much from us, which is really lovely. But like I said, we do genuinely, without making it up or lying, because I'm really bad at that anyway. Genuinely, I have learned so much from doing Aucademy because of the people that we bring on. If I don't know about a topic, I find an autistic person who does. And it's broadened my understanding of things so much.
I was literally about to say this. Like a lot of the stuff I write about now, and like a lot of the knowledge that I try and pass on through my writing, is stuff that I have directly learnt by being involved with Aucademy. And like this is the thing, like we're on the website as like the permanent educators or whatever, but it's like you said, we're educator learners. We are learning just as much as the people watching the live streams. And I've got to be careful not to cross into imposter syndrome, but I don't feel like I have any more right to be on the screen than anyone in the comment section.
None of us do. It's just whether people feel that they would like to be here and they've got a topic that they would like to cover. That's it. That's the requirement for Aucademy. If you meet our ethos, that you want to gently educate, that you come from a non-pathologizing perspective, and you've got a topic that would be interesting for us to learn about, or people in the comment, learners in the comment section as well, let us know. But really importantly as well, what you said, David, is that's what I wanted to get rid of, that hierarchy. That's why I started referring to everybody as educator learners, because exactly that, David, because I recognized how much I was learning from being here, listening to people in the comment section, or like having different people on and things like that. And it's amazing. It's so exciting, because the thing is, then when we all together educate and learn with each other, we can then go off in our separate places. And I know that there are people in our comment section who've told us, that they've gone off and taken a resource or a bit of education and told their workplace or whatever it is. That's what we want. That's what we need to be doing, is making neurodivergent people's lives everywhere that little bit better if we can. Has anyone said? Andrew says struggles to read and write. That is okay, Andrew. You come and you if you want to talk, if you want to, although you said writing maybe not so much, but if you wanted to type instead to communicate a point to us or a topic to us, if you wanted to dance and sing to communicate a point to us, we would be so excited to have that. Okay, what else have we got? Definitely just going to wrap up, I think, because I've just gone off into like really random territory. Where are we? Just having a look at the comment section. Lots of just people chatting to each other, chatting to Andrew as well. You all should. Andrew's lovely. Lots of things, burnout.
A final thought on that point. I actually only ended up on on these lives by accident because I started writing a blog and got, so, and you were like, oh, could you come talk about that? And then all of a sudden I'm here all the time.
But there, yeah, if oh yeah, Colin, we are all lifelong learners, exactly. And so when I wrote about the idea of the 6 stages of autistic discovery, which we will cover properly in a session, but there's a blog on that if people are interested, is that it never ends. Our autistic discovery journey never ends. We might go back and forth through the different stages, but I'm going to be learning about myself and other autistic people because I'm so fascinated by autistic people. Like, you are all fascinating people. It's amazing to meet different autistic people. I'm very sorry, neurotypical people who I have meetings with. Some of you I find interesting, but the majority of the time, I just find autistic people so fascinating. Our interests that we share and the way that your brains work, the way that we communicate. It's just, yeah, the best time in given how difficult everything's been. I'm trying to stick with the positive things that have been happening. Okay, so we're definitely just randomly chatting now. Thank you, lovely people in the comment section. People are just talking about potential topics. Yeah, let us know. Pop it on the main Facebook page. So under the pinned post that's at the top of the Facebook page on Aucademy, absolutely you can let us know what topics you would like us to find a guest for, or if you would like to be a guest, then let us know.
And feel free to request me as your host because I need to do more of these live streams.
We can have just so many. We'll just end up being here all the time. It's going to be fantastic. My friend actually is autistic and Tourette's, and yet struggling to be inclusive. Does that mean that they're struggling to be included, Courtney? I mean, if they want to discuss being autistic and experiencing Tourette's, that would be interesting. We've covered that with Callum Bratso before, but it's always good to have different perspectives, even if it's the similar experience like Tourette's, for instance. But yeah, lots of lovely comments, and thank you for just listening to us waffle. It's nice to just catch up with people.
Yeah, I mean, at points this has literally just been a stream of my consciousness. So
yep. Oh, asking how best is it to contact us. So I will flag 2 seconds. Where are we? There is a contact part. We will be very lucky and get to chat with Sai, because Sai explains and has a chat with people who would like to consider doing a topic with us, to explain how we work, how the streaming works. If you want to do a pre-record, we're very, very much hoping to secure, we've invited a non-speaking autistic person, so we're really hoping that we're going to get to secure that guest so that we can have obviously much better representation from our community as well, and so that would be interesting in how they would like us to convey their thoughts. So I don't know how that's going to work at the moment, so I've been looking into that, whether they're just happy to have their comments just as they're here on the screen. I don't know, but it's going to be very, very exciting. Okay, lovely. Okay, just totally waffling. So David is actually back next Saturday.
Next weekend, next Saturday, yeah.
So, like David said, the first time David came on was because I wanted to hear about autistic people who also experience addiction or have experienced addiction. And so that's the first time you came on, and we were just like, oh, this is great. And then David came back again, and then David came back again, and then David's here. Yay. But that was a little while ago. So you've written and, really move forward with your advocacy since then. So
yeah, in the 3 years since I started my blog, I think I've published just on my blog 106 posts. Some of them, there's a couple that are guest pieces, there's some that are co-written, but I think the vast majority are just by me. And yeah, I'm doing so much more than just writing blog posts now. But
so many things.
yeah,
But yeah, so we're just going
it's
to
great.
do the same topic: autistic people and addiction, or autistic people and potentially attention differences, and just update what we did originally with you, because it's an important topic that you obviously explain. There's next to nothing written, particularly in the research.
There isn't, but there has just been a piece of research which, whilst I don't love the language, I'm excited to get into that, which I will save for next weekend.
Oh, and somebody's just asking about your blog. So which one is it, David?
So emergentdivergence.com. It's also on Facebook, but the title is quite long.
Yeah,
It's
I think
still
this one's nice and quick.
Divergence, but it's like emergent divergence, addiction, mental health, and the autistic experience.
Yeah, relatively.
I'm also on
but
Twitter,
yeah, you can find
and
David as well. You find David on Facebook too. So there's emergentdivergence.com. And lovely Courtney is asking a question about, which we can't cover now, and certainly I don't know. So I'm always honest, I don't know. So Courtney's asking, do you know about any overlap with cerebral palsy and autism, because you're struggling to deal with so many? I'm assuming so many experiences like that. I don't. I imagine, like all human experiences, there's always crossover. When you're autistic, you're potentially just as likely to experience other experiences. Does that make sense? But I can make a note if you know anyone.
What's really annoying me is there is someone I follow on Twitter, and I cannot remember who it is, who talks about the overlap between being autistic and cerebral palsy.
Okay. I mean, if you do remember, maybe we can get in touch with them and see if they'd like to do a session for us and cover that. That'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do some deep diving into Twitter now.
Do a little search. So yes, thank you, lovely people, for listening to us waffle. Hopefully some good things to think about, and try and stay positive even in very difficult times, I know. But next week, we're going to have David, and I think Tanya, and Katie Monday I think was interested. So I think Katie Monday, Tanya Adkin are going to be here with David talking about autistic people and addiction.
Yes.
Nice. Cool.
Okay,
everyone, feel free to dance to our outro music, and we will see you next week. And keep an eye out for my bite size. They might not be this week because I need to finish recording them, but in the following couple of weeks I will start to release bite size. If you do or can head over and be a patron of Aucademy. All patrons will get access to the same things. I decided that I don't want to make it that there's like a tier system. So all patrons, doesn't matter what tier you are on the patron page, you will all receive the same thing. So it's just down to donating whatever it is that you can. If you can't donate to Aucademy in terms of money, that is absolutely fine. You are so welcome to be here, and you are so valued. To just watch us is of value to us. If you can share, if you can like our stuff, if you want to chat in the comment section or underneath a post, all of it is just so welcome by us and appreciated. I'm really excited about everybody today. Everything's just great. Unless I'm just buoyed from a good day yesterday. Okay, right, I'm going to go. Let's put the lovely outro on for you, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
She says, trying to find the outro. Where's the outro?
I'll just keep waving.
Yeah, just keep waving, David.